Josephine was the first African-American woman to star in a major motion picture. Did you know that? Besides that, she was the first star to ever tour Yugoslavia and adopted 12 children of different ethnicities to prove that children can be a family, no matter how someone looks like. Also, only a small percentage of people that watch my videos are actually subscribed. So if you end up liking this video, consider subscribing. It's free, and you can always change your mind. Enjoy the video. The Father Dilemma. A century ago, people didn't keep track of things as we do now, and at the end of the day, no matter what somebody tells us about themselves, we can never know if they are telling the truth or not. The fact who Josephine's father was is one of the examples. Some of the sources show that since Eddie Carlson lived on one of Baker's estates, he could be her father. However, her foster son did some digging after she passed away, and he wanted the world to remember her by writing her biography. He did several tests and research, which concluded that Carlson couldn't be the father, because the research showed that her biological father was Caucasian. Another reason that nobody can know for sure is because Josephine was known to tell different information about her life to different interviewers, and that her stories oftentimes didn't add up, making it hard to pinpoint what was actually true. Her life on the streets. Josephine lived most of her early years in a neighborhood in St. Louis known for having a lot of homeless people, houses shared by many, and apartments without working water. She wore secondhand clothes and was often hungry because she had nothing to eat. Her mother was married to an unemployed man, so to take care of herself, Josephine started working, helping around other people's houses when she was 8. She dropped out of school when she was 12 so she could work as a waitress because her family had no money for her to finish school. Because she didn't make enough, she was forced to live on the street and dance in a nearby dance club. By the age of 15, Baker was married for the second time and had a very bad relationship with her mother because Josephine wanted to become a performer, and her mother insisted on her getting a real job. Because they couldn't come to an agreement, Baker decided to leave America and move to France without knowing that this decision will change her life forever. From America to Paris. Performing in vaudeville shows in New York before moving to France, Baker had enough money to open a revue, a type of entertainment theater, in Paris. Many that heard of Josephine think that she had her big break in America before she even got to France. But she told in many interviews that even though she worked on Broadway, she was always a chorus singer in the background, and that her big break was in France where she became a dancer. She was so popular that she instantly rose to fame in Europe, touring all over the continent. One of her most famous performances was at the Folies Bergerie when she came back from the tour. In the act, she wears a costume made of artificial bananas and even had a cheetah with her on stage that sometimes escaped to where the orchestra was, and terrorizing them gave an extra comedic effect for the audience. Can you imagine playing an instrument and suddenly a wild cat is standing before you? The most successful American in France. With her hard work, it didn't take long for her to become the most successful American entertainer in France. She was called a sensational woman by Ernest Hemingway himself, and was so beautiful to Picasso that he drew paintings to portray her beauty. She became so loved and adored that Jean Cousteau offered to help her earn more by selling her own hair gel, cosmetics, and even bananas because of her famous outfit. As if that wasn't enough, she was the first African-American celebrity to come to Yugoslavia, and while on the tour there, she donated some of the money the shows made to poor children in Serbia. She was so famous in Europe that when she arrived in Zagreb, her fans were waiting for her to get off the train just to see her. Success in Paris, but not America. In 1931, Baker released her most successful song called J'adore Amours, which talked about her love for France and America. In 1934, she got a chance to perform in one of Offenbach's operas, which took months of preparations and couching so that her voice was ready. You might think that since she was one of the most popular performers in Europe, that she was just as successful in the USA. That, unfortunately, was not true. In 1936, she returned to Broadway, but her performance in Ziegfeld Follies wasn't received well by the public, so the producers had to replace her with another singer. Many magazines wrote that even though she might be a star in Paris, that other cities have just as much talent, and that she doesn't really stand out to get the standing ovation outside of Europe. Perhaps there is a time and place for everything. Baker in World War II. In the Second World War, Josephine got a job as a correspondent and had to collect as much information about the whereabouts of German troops and meetings. It was her duty to visit embassies and use her charms to get the information the military needed. Because she was so well known in Europe, even though on the other side of France, she got a chance to gather information about Italy and Japan without her being suspicious. In 1941, she joined the French colonies in North Africa. She went there to help with the resistance and frequently went back to Europe to tour Spain. Every time she came back, she delivered a new piece of information, doing more work than France itself, because she had the advantage to work with civilians and wasn't suspected to work with the resistance. Talk about the perfect spy. A new beginning. After the war, Josephine returned to Folies Bergerie and was praised for not being afraid to sing out about serious topics that were avoided by many after the war. That way, she gained her popularity as an entertainer back. Due to her work and recognition as a heroine during the war, she was invited to perform in a club in Miami in 1951. The show was quickly sold out, and due to its success and amazing reviews, she toured the whole country. Just a year later, she was supposed to be the lead dancer in the 8th Cavalcade of Jazz, featuring the biggest stars of that time like Roy Brown and Anna Mae Wimborne. However, that performance never happened for Baker due to a controversy she got into in 1951 when she spoke against clubs not wanting people of color to be their guests. The media, siding with the clubs, interpreted her speech in a way that looked like she was speaking against her country, so they terminated her work visa and she had to return to France, fighting for what is right. Even though Baker was prohibited to return to America, she supported the civil rights movement in the 50s from abroad. When she was finally able to return, she wanted to stay in New York for the movement, but was denied accommodation in 36 different hotels because she was African American. Even though she was offered a substantial amount of money to perform in clubs, she declined them all because the clubs were limited to Caucasians only. Her persistence was heard in Las Vegas, where they opened the clubs for everyone, and Baker not only performed in those clubs, but helped the club gain popularity. Of course, due to her work, she kept receiving threats via phone calls and letters, but stated publicly that she knows that fighting for equality for all is the right thing to do, and that there isn't a threat that could stop her. We can't help but admire Josephine for her bravery and her work, and we think that she should be a role model for all of us. The Rainbow Tribe. During the civil rights movement, Josephine adopted many children from all over the world, not only to give them the childhood she was denied, but also to show the world that children don't see the issues we put in the world, and that they can all live together and love each other equally. She named her family the Rainbow Tribe, and sometimes when she was traveling the world, she took the children with her and made it public where she was staying so that people could come and see how happy the children are playing with each other. Baker never had any biological children, but did adopt 2 girls and 10 boys, all of the different ethnicities. What do you think of Baker's rainbow family? Tell us in the comments what is her most admirable act for you. And don't forget to click on the next video on our channel for more celebrity entertainment.